I am watching some of our students that were students when I came here and came during this time grow up to be young adults are now serving in our church and
Mhm.
serving in adult ways in our church. To me, that's the reward.
All right. Thank you for joining the Andrew Gonzalez podcast show. I've got a special guest on today. His name is Pastor Travis Creekmore. He's a bishop in the Church of God, and he has recently written a book. He's going to be our first guest in a series that I'm calling The Author's Angle. Got several pastor friends across the denomination, across the country, who have recently put out books, and I'm just super proud of their work. I want to help them and give them a platform to kind of talk to us about their work and kind of the burden of writing a book. As somebody who has just finished a book, I know what it's like to take your heart and put it on paper. And so, Bishop Travis, so glad to have you here. You're one of the first people I met in the Church of God. I haven't been in the denomination very long, about 4 years. And Philip Patterson brought me along for a revival service. Jonathan Pope was preaching. It was my first time meeting you and attending the church there at Whitehall. And of course, since then, you've done a lot of remodeling and the church is looking really good. So we're glad to have you on the show. Why don't you say a few words and just kind of introduce yourself to the audience and tell us who you are, where you're at, what you're doing, and then we'll go from there.
Thank you again, Pastor Andrew, for having me on. This is uh, we're been me and my wife have been here at New Harvest for 17 years, and it's been an incredible journey. My wife's name's Christy. I have two children. One is 26. My oldest is 26. My youngest is 23. I have two grandbabies, one 3 years old, one soon to be 9 months old,
Awesome.
and we've just enjoy enjoy the journey that we've been on with the Lord. So it's really been a good thing.
Now, is your family close there at Whitehall? Your children, your grandchildren, or are they off?
No, they're actually pretty close to me. My son lives probably the furthest away. He lives about 10 miles away from me. So
Well,
so so
well, that's
they're
pretty
pretty
close.
close to me.
Yeah, I'm 35 hours away from my mother, so I think she would
Oh,
say that's pretty close, Pastor Travis. So
yeah,
anyway,
absolutely.
yeah, where were you born? Where'd you grow up? Where'd you go to high school?
Well, I grew up in a little small community around Mountain View, Arkansas. Graduated school at a small school. I think there was 25 in my senior class,
Wow.
uh, in a little school called Timbo,
Mhm.
Arkansas, and it's just a small school. Everybody knows everyone. So come from about north central Arkansas, just some small areas up in there.
So there was 759 students in my graduating class. So different world
Yeah.
there. That was in the Central Valley of California. Extremely large school that was actually split in half after my graduating class because it had just gotten too big. But those small schools, man, I love those small schools. My son transferred from a bigger school his junior year to a small school, 40 kids in his graduating class, and just really shined there. So I was proud of him for doing that. So you graduated there at Timbo, and tell us a little bit about your faith journey. Were you raised in church? Did you come to faith a little later? How did that look?
Well, I came to faith a little bit later. I wasn't raised in church. Spent probably as a child growing up, if what time I went to church, probably spent more time in a Church of Christ than any other movement. But uh, just wasn't raised in church. Didn't go to church until I started dating my wife. That was a requirement from her father in particular. If I was going to date her, I had to be at church on Sundays and Wednesdays.
Flirt to
And
convert.
yeah,
Tried
that's
and
right.
true.
That's
It's a
right.
tale as old as time. So she gets you to church. What happens from there?
So I meet the Lord in August of '99. Me and her get married in July of '99, and then I meet the Lord in August of '99. A month later, in a revival being held by evangelist Charlie Fowler. I don't know if anyone will know who that is or not,
Possibly.
but
Yeah.
great preacher. And a year later, the Lord called me to preach, which is not something I had intended on doing, not something I was looking forward to doing. But
Mhm.
hey, Lord, you know how that is when the Lord
I
calls you
do.
to do something. So
Yeah.
so
So you accept the call to preach. You're there in that little full gospel church. You'd mentioned to me
mhm.
that kind of the whole church came into the Church of God. Tell us about that.
Yes, we planted the Church of God in Mountain View, Arkansas, during those days. So there was not a Church of God present in that community, and our pastor decided that he wanted to plant a church there under the leadership of State Overseer Melvin Massey at that time.
Mhm.
And we had a great time there. Served as a youth pastor for 5 years, and evangelized and still evangelizing along with pastoring. So
Okay.
we've
So
we've
you
had a
were you were the youth pastor there at the Mountain View Church.
yes.
Okay.
Mhm.
So you youth pastor for 5 years. What's your next stop in ministry?
Our next stop in ministry would be a little place uh, outside of Wynne, Arkansas, known as Cherry Valley. Um,
Okay.
and
Is there still
because
is there still a church there or no?
there's still a church there,
Okay.
so when to put this in perspective, my little hometown had 150 people there. So when we drive into Cherry Valley to look at the church,
Mhm.
at that time, overseer Paul Clausen, um, the population is 704 people. So I look at my wife. I said, "Where is the Walmart going to be at?" So we've got to find that. But
Yeah.
we went to this church. Had three people that was at this church
Okay.
at that
Press
time.
pause right there because I'm fascinated. I came out of the independent
Okay.
movement, the independent
Hmm.
holiness movement. So I'm really fascinated about how people end up in the places that they're in. So you're youth pastoring. Do you get a call from the administrative bishop? Does he suggest that you take this church? Does he tell you you're going to take this church? What did that look like?
Well, we were. I called the administrative bishop at that time,
Hmm.
Bishop Clausen, and told him. I said, Bishop, Lord has called me to pastor,
Awesome.
and um, and just seeing what I just want to put that out there. If you have something open, I would be glad to look at it. And
And he
and
said,
actually,
I've got a church with three people for you.
well, actually, he told me, he said, he just left a church. This was on Monday when I called him. He had just left that church on Sunday morning after service, and he said, "I told Sister Clausen, said, this would be a great place for someone like the Creekmores to come."
Wow.
So
The
it
Lord was
was
already orchestrating that.
he was already orchestrated, and so
Yeah.
we went there. Actually, we didn't know that there would be three people. There was four in my family. So
Okay. So you
so
doubled the church just
with my
walking in the door.
yeah, yes, sir.
Praise the
So
Lord. It's
we get
100%
there,
right.
and it was really remarkable. God really helped us. Um, we seen. Church got up to about 40 or 50
Nice. Yeah.
on really good Sundays, about
Mhm.
50 people, and stayed there 3.5 years before we moved to where we are now at New
Okay.
Harvest. So,
Yeah. Okay. That's interesting. So, 3.5 years there, you saw some great growth. Something comes open at New Harvest and you get a call, or did you put your name in the hat? How did that come to be?
wait, got a call from State Overseer Bishop Les Higgins at that time. So,
Okay. I
Brother
met
Higgins
him.
called
I
me.
met him at your church. That's where I met Les Higgins. He was preaching a conference for you or something.
Yeah,
That's
he is
where I
a
met him.
tremendous friend and still today a great friend and mentor. But he called me, and um, we went down and came down here, looked at the church, and he took the vote with 13 people to come here and at New Harvest. We were actually running more at Cherry Valley than we were at New Harvest at that
Really?
time. So yes,
Wow.
yes, sir.
Okay.
So and
So you come down,
We
you feel a burden. The Lord tells you to basically leave a church with 40, 50 on a good Sunday to take a church with about 15. Is that what I'm hearing?
yes, yes, that's we had this brother Andrew. This is just crazy. Me and my wife, I just changed a slogan on my business card for the church, our church business card. So I
Okay.
just changed the slogan to a church that cares. So when I pulled in to look at, we came in on a Saturday night to look here at New Harvest to figure out what the church was. And as I'm turning around in the driveway, I happened to glance up at their sign, and on their sign is the slogan, "A church that cares."
Wow.
And so I stopped in the driveway and had my wife to look at the sign
Yeah.
and showed her what I'd just done on the business card. And we knew
That's
both
awesome.
places we've been, we've known exactly this is where the Lord has wanted us to be. And
Yeah.
um, here we are over 17 years later.
Yeah.
Started with 13, and we it's been amazing journey to see what God's been doing. Uh, so just to see. Uh,
Yeah, and I
n-
and I
uh,
know it's not all about numbers, but just for
mhm.
listeners, I mean, you guys have gone from 13 to where are you guys?
We run about 170
Okay.
on an average.
Yeah,
Uh,
that's
so
wonderful, man.
it's been very incredible.
Yeah,
So
and I've got to see some of the fruits of the work that you guys have put in, the new facility that you have that is just tremendous, and the youth facility. You guys have just done a great job there. Um, I'm proud to be your friend every time I stop by there and see what God is doing. Now, tell me a little bit about state leadership. So, for those that don't know, Bishop Travis is a leader here in this state. Um, Me coming in, he was on the state council. And are you on the state council still, or are you timed out?
I timed out.
Timed out. So that means you're probably going back on real soon. But anyway, timed out from the state council. You were over, was it MIP for a while or was it CAMS?
I've been over both for a
Okay.
while.
Yeah, he's been part of our ministerial development here in the state of Arkansas. And so, kind of state leadership, how did that start for you? Did you start on the youth board? Did what kind of talk us through that?
I started on the youth board under Brother Dwayne Culp was our state youth director at that time.
Okay.
So I was voted on by obviously our peers to
Sure.
vote us on, and served for 2 years under Brother Dwayne, and then on the next ministers meeting, I was voted on state council, um,
Did you feel like that
which
was coming or was that a total surprise?
I didn't know. I didn't really feel that was coming. I don't get into the politics of that a lot.
Sure.
Just trying to, I'm if the Lord wants me on those things, then that's we'll do that. But if not, it's not something that we're striving
Pining
to get
after.
on. So
Sure.
yeah,
It's
so
obviously an honor to be
it
placed in that role by your peers, to be trusted in state leadership. I haven't, maybe I'm totally oblivious to what's going on. I haven't seen a whole lot of politics in Arkansas, period.
no.
That has been my experience. And I know that across the denomination, there's certainly more political pockets of our tribe, but I just don't seem like and again, maybe I'm just totally out of the loop, which is possible. I'm still, the new kid on the block here. Maybe I just don't know what's going on, but I haven't sensed a lot of political stuff going on. Seems like a pretty tight
There's
group
not.
to me.
Yeah, there's not a lot, hardly any politics on stuff like that that goes on. We have a very good state, and I'm proud to be a part of the Arkansas Church of God in general, but Arkansas is my home, and
Yeah.
we've got great people here in our state.
Well, as I was looking for a place to land, I was coming out of the independence, looking for a place to land. I grew up in the Spanish Assemblies of God in California, and so I looked at the assemblies, and I'll just be honest with you. Right here in Hot Springs, there's 5 assemblies, and there's no fellowship between them whatsoever. And
Yeah.
that is kind of what directed me towards the Church of God. Of course, I knew Ben Wiles for many, many years. He's one of my best friends, and he had talked to me about the Church of God for a lot of years. But I went with Bishop Arguello, my district overseer, my pastor Lance, to a camp meeting, and it was at Velvet Ridge. I had been attending his church for 1 month when he invited me, and just several had uh, came to me with wide open arms, and obviously one being
Yes.
Bishop Bill Claypool, who is known for amalgamation. He's known for loving people into the movement, and he certainly did that for me. But it was kind of that camp meeting. I was just there for one service, but just that I could feel the tight knit family dynamic in that service. Bishop Wayne Doherty was preaching, and of course, he can shuck the corn. And I thought, man, this is a movement I need to be a part of. And so it was kind of that camaraderie of the Church of God in Arkansas that brought me this way. Now, you said, and I want to speak to this before we get into your book here. You said you've been at New Harvest for 17 years. There was a philosophy kind of as I'm learning more about the Church of God. And I think it was kind of just an unwritten practice where pastors stuck around for 3 or 4 years and then they were gone and they just kind of moved from one to the other. But I'm noticing as I study the history of our church, and I've learned a lot. I'm an eager student. I've learned a lot. I was visiting with somebody in Cleveland the other day. Um, well, I'll tell you who it was. It was Ryan Sharp, and he told me he was at River Hills, and I looked into this guy and said, River Hills, is that where Mark Williams pastored? And he said, you've been in the movement for 4 years and you know where Mark Williams used to pastor? I said, I just kind of consume, I'm a sponge. But I've noticed that maybe in the last 20 years, successful churches have had long tenured pastors. And so it kind of encourages me as, I still consider myself a young pastor. I guess I'm not as young as I used to be. I'm 42. Uh, it encourages me to stick around. Hard times come, dips come. Um, I pastored a church that I planted for 14 years. Had received several opportunities in that time. Had some success in evangelism, and had a church from California reach out to me. And it was an older pastor. It was a really nice church. He ran about 300, had a brand new facility, 13 acres. And he asked me to come take the church. And I prayed about it and I couldn't. And when he questioned me, my heart on that, he told me when I left California 14 years prior, he told me the same voice that tells you to go is the same voice that will tell you to leave. And I told him that voice hadn't told me to leave. And so I think a lot of times we can get discouraged and we can, hit some bumps in the road and maybe enter situations that we don't know if we're going to get out of or we're going to survive. But if we just stick to it and listen to the voice of the Lord, I think we would see more pastors sticking around longer. What do you think?
I think that's what you said is a very key is I am been here over 17 years. January was my 17th, marks my 17th year being here this past January. And I am watching some of our students that were students when I came here and came during this time, grow up to be young adults are now serving in our church and
Mhm.
serving in adult ways in our church
Right.
and has really helped. It's to me that's the reward of watching God. Uh, there was an older preacher that I used to listen to a lot that went on to be with the Lord, but he made this statement. He said, "The sign of a healthy church is if God can trust us enough to call people to ministry." And
Wow.
I've thought that that's something that I've strived for,
Yeah.
but uh, it's these are our spiritual sons and daughters, regardless of age,
Yeah.
that we need to make sure that for me, now this is not for everybody, but for me, as I want to make sure that they're being raised right in the ways of the Lord
Sure.
and and taught those things. Not saying someone would come in and do something bad, but
I
but
understand.
I'm enjoying this time in my life. So
Yeah, that's
with
awesome.
this,
Well, good deal. Let's talk about your book.
okay,
You wrote Overcoming the Roar. And
yes.
I'll read the tagline here. It says, Living boldly, praying consistently, and trusting completely. Now, what in the world got into you and made you to decide to write a book? Tell us kind of what you were feeling, what you were experiencing, what you felt like the Lord was doing in you that brought you down this path of authorship.
Well, I this book is based off a sermon series I preached in 2016, and as a pastor, I preach a lot of sermon series messages,
Hmm.
uh, and this one I could not get away from. It's something that even though I haven't preached from it a whole lot since then, it still has been.
Did you say 2016?
Yes.
So we're talking a decade. This has been
Yeah.
churning in your heart.
Yes.
Okay.
So I spent the last 3 years working on it and putting it into the book form the best that I could. I would not consider myself a writer,
Mhm.
uh, but I definitely this was something that I felt impressed to do, and we were able to do that. As you've read, it's not long chapters. It's uh,
No, it's not, and it's easy reading. It reads like I was going to say it reads like a sermon, so I'm not surprised that it's a sermon
mhm.
series. And so maybe you're somebody out there, and you're trying to read more, but something that kind of you struggle with. This is a really easy book. I left a review on Amazon. It says just practical principles for everyday Christians, and so it would be really easy for you to pick this up and read through it because, like I said, it reads like Travis talks, and Travis is just a down to earth guy. And so, who do you think this book is for, Travis?
Well, I think it's for anyone that struggles with uh, fear, anxiety, unworthiness, the different things uh, that we mentioned in the book about the different. Sometimes I feel like Satan has got a lot of voices that he's throwing at us and keeping us pressed down. That was something that, and in the last 6 chapters of that book, it really talks about some things to overcome uh, the first six chapters of the books. So it's I think if anyone is dealing with especially depression, I myself went through a very dark time with depression,
Wow.
anxiety, and um, I know what it's felt to feel like to be unworthy. There was a time growing up as a child from a lot of things that was going on in my life at that point, maybe for a different day, but that unworthiness is just something that we that we struggle with sometimes. So um, and not accepting what Jesus has done for us
Hmm.
is a big thing for me. I want people to know that God is not sitting in heaven trying to figure out a way to keep us from getting there.
Right.
Um, so when we've
Yeah, that's
sinned,
good.
it's not God is saying, "Well, I'm done with you now because you sinned." That's not the God of the Bible. We have a God that's
Right.
sitting at the right hand of the Father. That's um, every day we get up, we've got mercy and grace, and I believe that's what Daniel really taught us
Mhm.
about that. Is that hey, God is faithful no matter where we are. God's faithful.
Yeah, that's great. And you kind of take the story, well, not kind of, you take the story of Daniel in the lion's den and use that as a framework to deal with all of these issues. How did writing this book change you?
It refreshed my mind from the series that we had preached from. It really brought some things back home. Um, Again, there's been some uh, dark places that I've been in life in general, and I've always I've shared this with most people. Nothing in my life has been easy. Nothing in my life in ministry has been easy. Um, as a child, as growing up, nothing has been easy. We've worked and we've fought and to get where we are today, and today we still work and fight hard. So, but it's that book brought brought me back to a place to remember um, that hey, with everything, all the stuff that goes on, man, God's already provided for us, and
Right.
to walk in what He's provided is all we've got to do with that,
Yeah.
and it's just to help encourage me sometimes in remembering those things.
Love that. Travis, as we wrap this up here today, and again, I really appreciate you coming on the show. There's a young preacher out there. He, she, they're sitting in a church. Um, they feel like they're called to more. The doors aren't quite opening yet. What do you say to them? How do you encourage them?
I would say to them, be patient. Don't get ahead of the Lord. And I know that's probably looking for a bigger answer, but uh, sometimes I've had the privilege again, Pastor Andrew, to minister and to um, we've with CAMS and MIP,
Hmm.
but just in my personal ministry, the Lord has allowed about I think I counted the other day about 15 different ministers to be called,
Wow.
and sometimes it's getting too anxious, getting impatient,
Sure.
wanting to just jump right in pastoralship or what are the I
Sure.
really believe that we should give our young ministers more of a platform to get that experience that we got.
I'm
But
extremely intentional on that. Um,
yes,
because I think as a whole, and I'm talking just about our tribe as a Church of God. I think as a whole, we're
uh,
failing at that. And, part of it is just a practical reason. I got to preach a lot on Sunday nights and Wednesday nights, and we had coming up, we had Saturday night service, so there was plenty of services to preach in. Um, Now that, most churches don't have that, we've got Sunday morning, we've got Bible study on Wednesday night. So I've only got so many Sunday mornings throughout the year that I'm going to share my pulpit. And then on Wednesday night, it's not like we're preaching, we're teaching. And I've had an episode of the podcast on how important it is to teach. So it's not like I want to deviate from that. So let me share this with you. This is just something that I've done because I have young preachers in my church. I foster ministry, man. I want the sanctuary to put them out, and I want them to go all over the country and all over the world. And so I was wrestling with that. How can I get these young men and women opportunities to pray, seek the Lord about a scripture, and just kind of learn to start putting that in. And so I created a time in our Sunday morning service called the Sunday morning text message. They read a text. It's a 5-minute exhortation. I've probably had 10 people participate in that. And it's been wonderful, man. It's in the middle of the
that's
worship
great.
service. We sing 2 songs and then we come into the text message and there's no direction from me. They're getting a passage. They're exhorting on that passage for, 5, 7 minutes, whatever. Nobody's timing them, but everybody's done really good at just kind of keeping it that. And then we go into another worship song before we preach. It's been incredible, man. The growth that I've seen in that, um, to where I feel like I'm starting to fulfill that role of giving them a place when I was really struggling with that.
That's
So
awesome. That's incredible.
yeah, it's been pretty good. It was an idea, and it's turned out even better than what I thought it would be. So real quick, Tell us where we can get your book.
You can get our book on Amazon. Obviously, you can get it there. You can also go to traviscreekmoreministries.org and click on resources, and it will take you directly to the Amazon link where you can get the book. And I do want to just share, Pastor, that uh, everything we get from this book goes to support the mission work that we do. I don't take any money from the profits from the book. So we'll go to we go to the Navajo Nation,
Well,
going back to
I'm glad
Peru.
that you mentioned that. Number 1, I did not know that, but number 2, I had thought to mention, the mission work you do out there. So, yeah, take a couple minutes and tell us about what you're doing in
Well, we
is it
go,
New Mexico or
we're
Arizona?
going to it's in New Mexico. The
New
Navajo
Mexico.
Nation is in New Mexico, and then we have a great opportunity in October. We'll be going to Peru for pastor to train pastors. So
Wow.
we'll spend a week out there doing that. So
Is that with the
um,
Church of God or is that an independent
it,
thing?
it is with the Church of God.
Awesome.
Both of these will be with the Church of God. So, um, but
Love that.
yeah, that we just want people to know that if you purchase that book, it we don't take any profit from that. That all goes directly back into the ministry as we go into doing mission work that we do. So,
That's incredible. I'm so glad you shared that with us because I had no idea. I'm going to put the links to the Amazon and to his website in the show notes. Guys, thank you so much for joining us today. Pastor Travis, thank you again for coming in. It's been an honor to visit with you. I've learned some things I didn't know. And as our friendship begins to grow, I'm sure I'm going to find out some other stuff as we go along. So God bless you. I'll see you at camp meeting.
hey, we'll see you at camp meeting. Thank you again, Pastor, for having me on.